Ohmies, welcome back to another interview of the week. This week we are interviewing our engineering gigabrain, the mastermind behind 3-3 Together, the meme connoisseur Girth Brooks himself. How are you going, Girth?
Hey, doing well. How are you?
I'm swell. What time is it over there for you? Are you kind of settling in for the for this interview? Are you kind of got a little beverage or two?
Yeah, you know, we're rocking the PBR and some Crown Royal.
Hey.
Shout out to my folks in the South there.
Oh yeah, we're definitely keeping this one chill and keeping the vibes unlocked for the Ohmies. Where do we start? What is going on here? There's like so many things happen in Olympus every week. Like I don't even know where to start with these interviews sometimes. Like I think we'll kind of go back to the origins of crypto. Like how did you stumble across kind of crypto in general?
So I got into crypto, I guess, through like less conventional means. I'd heard about it in maybe I'd say probably about 2011, and it was actually because a friend of mine had this Minecraft server that he also happened to have like sitting next to a Bitcoin mining rig, like back in like 2012, something like that. Yeah, so you can imagine. And he was going out of town for a week, and he asked me if I could make sure that he to monitor his servers, his Minecraft server and his Bitcoin server, or his Bitcoin rig, and that's kind of how I came to find out about it. And then he was like, he's just a funny, goofy dude that I used to like skate with and stuff. So like he didn't like really have any money and everything. So he was like, "Hey, can I just give you some Bitcoin?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I guess, like whatever. You let me just like chill at your place and stuff." So, let me drink your beer and whatever. So yeah, it was cool. And so he gave me just like a little hard drive with, I guess it's probably something like 30 Bitcoin or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, where's that hard drive at 33. Now?
Oh man. So like, honestly, this is like super embarrassing to admit, but like, I'm pretty sure that I just lost it. Like, I think I lost it or just like accidentally threw it out, because I've moved like quite a few times in the last, 10 years.
Boating and, accident.
We'll call it a boating accident, exactly. But yeah. Like I've owned like multiple storage units and like had to move shit in and out of those. I moved during a hurricane once, so it's like, damn. I'm like 99% sure that I know roughly what town I left it in. that box in particular, because there's a couple times, and like I just had like it wasn't like I had to like get out of Dodge, so I was getting chased or nothing. But there's a few times where like I just didn't prepare and was like, oh God, I gotta move tomorrow. You know what I mean? And just like left in a hurry and like, forgot a box or some crap, right?
Yeah. The Ohmies we gotta do a treasure hunt then. We gotta get that hardware wallet back.
I would say, yeah, like there's I've had to stay in multiple Motel 6s across the southeast United States. How's that sound for? And I know for a fact I've left some shit there at one point, because I don't need to get into it, but yeah, we were in Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably maybe it's in the eye of the tornado. Who knows,
dude? Honestly, like I bet you anything. I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts that some dude just found that box, went through it, and it was just a bunch of like. Most of it was like broken, like optical drives and shit, right? So like most of like the old like gear that I have is just like a motherboard from like 2008. I'm like, this is a relic, like let's keep it, right? So like it was, yeah, like I'm not so disorganized that it was just like any of this stuff was like, yeah. So it would have been just like a box of like old computer parts that someone probably just donated or threw out, right? Damn. Not even knowing that there's like, just a little solid state drive on there with.
I wonder what portion of like
$180,000 on it now.
I wonder what portion
180
of,
million. 1.8
yeah,
million.
no, it's like 18 million or something crazy.
Yeah, it's like 1 point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's wild. Like, I wonder what portion of like, actually, yeah, it's 1.8 million, I think. Fuck, my
1.8
math's
million.
all,
You're right.
all
Yeah,
over the place.
I did a math and I fucked up, and now I'm embarrassed about it.
Who needs math when you got computers do it for you?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I wonder what portion of like the kind of total Bitcoin supply is just like lost forever. I'm sure it's like significant, to be honest.
Yeah, they did some like study not too long ago. It was like I forget what they did to like parameterize it, but it's something to do with like, you know, Bitcoin that's been in a wallet since like basically its inception or close to it or whatever, you know, that hasn't moved, right? Since like, you know, over X amount of time or something. Because like, you know, there's it's really hard to like verify, right? That like that it's actually gone, right? It could just be like someone put it on on a ledger and like just buried it out in the woods, and they're like, "I'll come back to you in 10 years." So like, yeah, I don't know. It's a hard number to pin down, but you know, Satoshi's dead. It's a pretty solid amount, right?
Yeah, definitely solid is an understatement. It's a significant amount, just completely gone.
Call it a pretty thick amount. It's missing in action.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that is crazy. Like fast forward to say kind of like DeFi summer, were you kind of paying attention to crypto closely, or were you kind of just like, when did you kind of like really dive into crypto properly?
I would say probably right after DeFi summer, because it like I'd had so many people just like hit me over the head. Like I'd gotten, I bought like a little bit of Aave and like, a little bit of Ethereum and stuff, but like I didn't really like start, devoting like a large portion of my time and energy to like researching and really like, I didn't really start investing that heavily into it until I'd say like kind of right after that, because I sort of like, that was to me what sort of showed me like the real potential. And like I'm still just a normal like engineer by day, right? So it's like it wasn't like I just had like a ton of capital to be like, all right, let's just like ape into this right now, right? So just sort of dollar cost average in for a number of years, and it's slow, it's just sort of paid off, I guess, in the long run.
Was it like, do you have like a vivid memory of when you started like really like things starting to like click for you, like around kind of like post DeFi summer? Or was it kind of like this kind of like passive like DCA investing into things that you're like, oh yeah, like this is really interesting, but like I don't have enough time because I'm so busy working, and then I'll like kind of devote more time to it later kind of thing?
Yeah. It's kind of like like, so I had a friend that was just like, had been very just savvy, I guess you could say, for from the jump, right? Like since like 2014 or something like that, right? He was like, yeah, they're looking into like this, he was like on it, right? He was like, yeah, show me how to like, download like Binance off of like that site, like way back before like it, you had to like go to like the like the Chinese site and like could do all through VPN or whatever, and like it was super sketch. I was like doing that shit on like a Galaxy 4 or whatever. But yeah, no, so he was always, really ahead of the game. And so it's the kind of thing where like, I didn't really need much convincing, and he'd be like, hey, if you got a little bit, you should just like throw it into this. I'd be like, all right, he's just like a trusted advisor. Not actually a financial advisor though, just a good friend. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where like I just sort of trusted him, and then like as things started to heat up, that was where I like got a little more curious, right? Because it just sort of, it was one of those things that like kind of was festering in the background, right? And being an engineer, I want to like understand how things work. And so it was something that like, yeah, it just took a second to be able to really like delve into it. And now, I can't really pull myself away.
It seems like once you get the gears turning, it's really hard to like go back once it's in motion, right?
Yeah, and I'm painfully aware of that. So it's like, as soon as I started, reading some like developer docs and stuff, it was like, oh fuck, man. Like I'm not gonna get to bed tonight.
That's actually awesome to hear. So obviously your kind of like traditional work background is in engineering. Was it anything kind of specific that you like wouldn't mind disclosing, or is it that kind of something that you would like kind of like to keep to yourself?
I mean, like, obviously I'm not gonna like docs where I worked out, but no, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I'd say like engineering is like a really easy way to like kind of sum up the experience. I've kind of done a number of roles or peripheral sort of roles in the last like I don't know, decade or more that kind of have run the gamut, in terms of going from like front end engineer, full stack, doing my first like real job at a startup was as like just a, a customer support engineer, and then eventually I became like escalation and stuff. Solutions architect, product consultant. It's kind of gone everywhere. But maybe it just took me like 12 years or something like that to realize that I really just prefer to live in the code, right?
Do you think that like experience within like a traditional work environment, like going through that, do this role for 1 year, then you move up to do another role, do you think that kind of experience has really helped you in terms of like translating those skills into like what you do now in this like really asynchronous environment where you're like picking up and taking on tasks, whenever you find something interesting? What is that kind of like transition like from like a work perspective? Because it's like a complete paradigm shift, right?
Yes, I'm like, luckily I'm just ADHD as hell. So I'm always bouncing around regardless, right? Moving around, doing some stuff. So it really kind of it fits nicely, I guess, just with like my own mental model. But in addition to that, like I haven't maybe intentionally, but like I haven't worked anywhere other than like high growth startups. So most of them in like very early stage. Where I'm at now is like probably kind of the most corporate, I guess, that I've been in my career. But either way, the point being is that like I'm very used to like having to pull together like a scrappy team and be like, all right, we need to get this shit done. Like these are the criteria. Let's go. It just it fit really nicely, and it's something that I'm familiar with. It felt like I could kind of lend my expertise to, I guess.
I guess that kind of ties into what you're doing over at Olympus now. Like, tell us how you stumbled across Olympus in the first place. Like, what was like, first of all, first impressions, and then second of all, when everything kind of clicked for you? Did it click straight away? Did you kind of like dive into the written material? Did you go like straight to the docs and look at the code, for example?
Olympus actually came by recommendation from the same friend that I was
the same friend
before. Yeah. So our mysterious angel donor, right? But he so when he hit me up and was like, hey, I found this thing, I think it's going to be huge. He also, mind you, he'd like just moved. He just had a kid. Like, we hadn't talked in a while, and so I get this random text out of nowhere that's basically like 2 sentences, right? It's like, OlympusDAO, check them out, right? I was like, oh yeah, what do I have? What can I liquidate right the fuck now? You know what I mean? Like, how do I get into this? And So I definitely aped first and then asked questions later. I really didn't actually look at the contract. Okay, so first, remember the very first version of the app, right? It like it didn't have like any like feedback or anything, right? So you'd go to stake and nothing would happen. and it would take a while, right? Like, especially because, gas was like pretty crazy at the time. And so
Yeah.
like, so I remember hitting the like approve and it taking a while and me being like, that's kind of odd. And then like, being like, all right, well, whatever, like here goes, like I already fucking bought it. So, so I stake it, I go to stake and I hit, I go to stake it and then like, and I'm waiting. And it's been like 10 minutes. I check the Discord and I'm looking just to see like, if people in like the Discord are saying anything about like, oh, is the app not working, whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe something's fucked up or whatever with the hosting or some shit. So that's why I go to the contract. So I'm like, all right, well, like take a look at this. And, yeah, like I'm not going to say that like, I just glanced at it and I was like, oh, but of course, like I'm not like anything special. But I remember kind of going through and being like, this is definitely unique. This just seeing, yeah, especially when I was seeing like just the staking contract, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like I just, I don't know. I felt safe. The fact that it was already like audited and stuff, it was like, I don't know. There was nothing to worry about. And I checked the transaction, right, obviously, and it was still just pending. And then after a while, I came back and I guess it went through. And yeah, obviously I've been 3-3 ever since.
The rest is history.
But yeah, it was from that initial experience that I was like, I've been really considering, trying to maybe get into Maker or, I mean, really that was the only one at the time because I just had like, kind of in there, right? But I've been thinking about kind of exploring, DAO opportunities. So from that immediate moment, I was like, I need to figure out how I can help them. Like, I want to do whatever I can to make this product the best fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, I think we're definitely on our way. So you like have this experience with, approving, you're like, is this like, what's going on here? Am I getting like scammed essentially? And you're like, well, I have expertise in engineering. Yeah, maybe I should reach out, offer kind of like my help in certain areas. How did that kind of come to be? Because you're a Stratego, right? Within Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Ohmies that aren't familiar with what a Stratego is, do you want to kind of walk us through how this kind of whole work structuring came about, and how did you end up kind of being in this kind of key role within the engineering department?
Yeah. So the Strategos kind of are like, I guess like, I don't know, upper management. That feels so corporate and stupid to say. So I really hate kind of putting that sort of label on it. Really, the Strategos kind of are there to help make sense of everything. And they're folks who've kind of proven their, relentless loyalty to
That's
Olympus.
a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like there's that sort of classification, like clarification, it takes a lot of different faces. And I think, ultimately just sort of boils down to the fact that like the Strategos are the folks that have proven that they, to an extent, know what they're talking about, or at least know how to get the right people involved to get something, to get a solution in place. And that they've proven that, without a shadow of a doubt, that they have the best interest of the Ohmies and all of Olympus at heart. Yeah, that's basically what Stratego is, or like kind of how you get there, I guess.
It's a more creative name aside from upper management, because it's definitely, as someone who is working in the DAO, I definitely don't feel it to be this upper management super like hierarchical structure, right? It's definitely not.
Upper
like
management
that.
Implies like this like top down, right? Like you're saying, and that's not it at all. It's really just more like you got to have at least a couple folks that have that 10,000 foot view and can try and help make sense of the madness and keep all of these things and all these different projects and initiatives and everything in alignment, while also trying to make sure that like every collaborator still feels a sense of efficacy and equity in the DAO.
Yeah. 100%. It's like you have your like chief operating officer for each department, but in a lot more of a less of a top down structure. That makes I feel like that makes a lot of sense, because I think that's like such a common question within DAOs. Is like people are really like baffled by the structure and how things function. We're at like almost 100 contributors now, and like, do you kind of see a bit of a kind of some kind of hindrance in place that kind of like prevents us from like scaling as a team? Or do you think there needs to be like maybe like more of a like even an offboarding process potentially for people who have started contributing but then start to fall off? Because then it's like, I think it's quite common sometimes you get sometimes dormant people who were active a couple months ago for whatever reason. They've gotten busy for X, Y, Z reasons, and they've kind of jumped off, maybe working elsewhere. How do you kind of like continue to have the door open for new, entrants, and like make the experience seamless for them to like come on and like join the engineering team, for example?
Yeah, and I mean, like that's a question that we're still kind of trying to solve for. Because it is difficult to manage these sorts of things at scale, especially when you think about, we already are working with almost something close to like maybe like a quarter of the engineers that I work with in like the meat space job, and that's like a pretty reputable company, and with a very large, fully scaled like engineering division. And so it's one of those things where I do see that as being like a very difficult thing for DAOs to manage. And for me, I think the best way to do that is to kind of help expand that flat sort of command structure. Like I feel like after a certain point, you can't really have 15, 20 strategos for 1,000 contributors, right? Like that doesn't quite work
No.
without there being a crazy hierarchy. And so I think what's going to ultimately happen is you're going to look towards something like a larger kind of council, or you'll maybe end up kind of having a middle layer where you break these bigger divisions into kind of smaller autonomous teams that can execute more efficiently, and you just sort of are relaying with the strategos, and they're kind of keeping everything aligned, right?
Like
that's
this
what we've been
kind
trying
of
to facilitate.
Like this kind of you have in like these little individual kind of bubbles within a bigger one, right? That kind of stay that are kind of interconnected with each other. And then
exactly.
sometimes that one of those bubbles might pop because the project's finished, for example, and then you move on and you create another bubble kind of thing.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do on the engineering side, at least, is kind of keep all of these things under one larger bubble, so that let's to continue with this analogy, right? Let's say that a project's finished, right, or a bubble pops. Those engineers aren't just kind of left stranded. They can still fall back into other project work that's currently outstanding, or we're constantly getting project requests and stuff like that. So we're trying to encourage folks, if you don't have anything to do, find some other folks that don't, and get a POC together for one of these one of these ideas that we've seen floating around, right? I think just as long as you kind of maintain communication and and try to kind of follow some of the code standards and stuff like that, it shouldn't be too difficult to start contributing, right?
But I think we've seen an influx of people over this last 2 months at least. I've seen such a big uptick in people reaching out and realizing that, oh, hey, I have an idea, I can pitch it. If people are sweet, then I can just start doing it. I think that whole concept is something so foreign to people, because people somewhat enjoy having things served to them on a plate, because it's good, it's convenient. You don't have to necessarily be proactive in a sense, because being proactive is hard. It takes a bit of diving into the unknown and maybe getting like a negative response from people. So, this idea of kind of like changing your psychology in the way that you like approach new tasks, and this kind of idea of pitching things and getting a few green lights and being like, okay, well, I can now lead this. I think that's like, do you feel like that's kind of like a common thing within the DAO?
Yeah. I don't know if I can speak for like every area of the DAO, because at this point the channel list has gotten, mighty long. But we see a lot. We've seen a lot more kind of organic, at least, how do I explain this? Like, as we've been able to kind of amass a foundation of continuous contributors, my boys like Appleseed and Kasuwu, shout outs to you. Obviously Zane, that's like my better half on the Stratego side. This can't be done by one person, not even close. But yeah, you got like all these folks that are highly motivated and knowledgeable, and to me, like, you don't need to micromanage every facet of it, as long as you can like know at a high level like what's happening, and how you can help kind of grease the rails on that, right? So that's kind of why we just have these like continuous weekly syncs, and I just put a lot of trust in the boys to make the right decisions, and then we still have code reviews and stuff, obviously, but like when it comes to like kind of picking your projects and like jumping into stuff, it's like, what you can do, you can't do. Hop into the thing that you think you're going to be effective at. Otherwise, your allocation might be a little bit low. You might be a little sidelined because you're spending more time learning. But if that's valuable to you as well, then like, take that time. But
for sure,
we really kind of want people to try and help. We want them to build their skills, but also still play into the what they're good at. Because that's just going to help kind of just keep put that momentum out.
100%. It seems like Stratego should be like nicknamed the facilitators. I feel like that's a pretty good description of what like you guys do on top of each specific department. Like, kind of like walk me through your like day to day in the engineering department. I know you guys actually recently started using GatherTown, which is a cool little virtual app to kind of do sync sometimes. Do you guys use that on a regular basis now?
Yeah, we've been trying to, for sure. We definitely been doing it. I think 2 or 3 weeks straight now on our weeklies, which are every Thursday. We kind of have moved them around a little bit, but it's usually sometime like early evening Eastern US. Shit, just talks my time zone. It's over for me, guys. But yeah, the day to day is a lot of it's really, for me, it's like, it feels like it's just a constant game of catch up, honestly. It's really fun, but there's just there's so much going on, right? So sometimes you got to really pick your battles and like focus on those things that you can help drive home, and then just sort of trust in your colleagues to handle the other parts, right? So I'll kind of bounce around now to a lot of different projects. I help with the pull together stuff for sure, but that was definitely a team effort. I wouldn't say I even led that. That was all Jeff's idea. Actually, he came to me and he was like, "Yeah, I want to do this," and then I was like, "Oh, this is pretty sick idea." And I was like, "I think I know an artist that could do like a really neat thing for it," right? So it's just one of those things where we it was highly collaborative. And I'm seeing a lot more projects come up that way, and it's I think that's really that's kind of the Ohmy way, right?
Yeah, it seems as like you said, with this new influx of new members, you have like a lot more of this like organic collaborative projects spinning up, and there's not really like any particular lead, but there's just like people kind of doing what they're best at, and then it kind of just all comes together. Yeah, it's super awesome with the like pull together, because it's such a awesome product for the Ohmies that don't know what it is. It's like a no loss lottery where like all the deposits are like staked, and then the reward from those deposits for like the upcoming kind of like rebases for however long. I think it's like over 3 days. Is that right, Girth? It's like every 3 days, or
yeah, it's like it should be 3 days exactly, because you got to set it with the seconds. So
yeah, it's with the block times.
Yeah, so we set it for like the exact seconds of 3 days. But I think that's like been really neat to see play out. And we've already been we actually kind of been working really closely with Leighton and Brendan from Pool Together. They've been super supportive, and they're really cool. They kind of saw the potential really early and reached out to some tweet about it when they're like sniping our GitHub, like trying to find some alpha, and they got it. But yeah, so Pool Together saw that tweet, and that was kind of actually how we ended up getting in touch with them. And they were like, yeah, this is really sick. And we're already kind of working out a lot of new and interesting ways that we can continue to work together. And maybe expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I also noticed that their V4 is coming out soon, or is just come out. So because like I know that there's a lot of they're also on like innovating quite a bit, because they're like one of the longest standing DeFi protocols as well, right? They're like one of the OG DeFi protocols. So it's like really awesome to see like, you know, Olympus connect, and collaborate with these protocols that have been in the space for such a long time. But like for the Ohmies, because I know there's been a lot of questions in around the Discord. What is the, like, because I tried to give that little Eli 5 earlier, but if I could get one from you, I think that would be a lot better. But what's your like high level of what 3-3 together is?
Yeah, so I would I would look at 3-3 together as like, basically imagine if you could invest in a scratch off ticket that you could just continuously scratch off every 3 days, right? But the odds are better, like, because I don't know, last I checked, like I only put in like a few SMs that I like just see kind of how that played out, and my odds are still somewhere in like 1 in 13, 1,500, something like that, which is like, when you look at the prize, like, I don't know. I've not seen many lotto tickets that have that good of odds to that prize ratio. But
100%.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I look at it. It's just like a little like fun sort of like a raffle or something, right? Not really an investment strategy, really just more like a fun game. But yeah, like
added utility, right? It's just another cool. Yeah.
And it's like I think it'd be kind of a fun way to add additional sort of interesting incentives and things like that, because you can always you can tack on like ERC 721 like NFT rewards to like prize periods and things like that. So
that's awesome.
I don't want to leak anything too much, but
I was gonna say, can you any exclusive Agora leaks? Might have to hit up Monk again. We're got to get a joint engineering OlympusDAO and Income team podcast, and so we can leak some alpha for the Agorians. That sounds really interesting. But we have like the way it would function, like, even because like I've seen a lot of people being like, oh well, whales can deposit and they have like a 1 in 5 chance, whatever. But like, you have to understand, Ohmies, is like, if someone's like depositing like a big chunk of their money, they're going to miss out on rebases for 6 days, or they take a 3% fee. And if you're like playing with like big money, that's a 3% on $1 million is not nothing. So I think it's really cool that kind of having the exit fee and then the decay time. I think it like definitely makes like the game theoretics surrounding it makes things interesting and kind of spicy. Like, I think for the first jackpot, like we saw someone deposit like $5 million in the last like couple of hours. So like, I think there's a lot of risk being taken on by some big whales in the game. But I think ultimately, I think the product is a super cool addition to Ohm's ever increasing line of like products and different added utilities.
Yeah, I think it's just an all around like kind of fun DeFi partnership, and I think it tells a good story. I think Pool Together has a lot of alignment with us just in terms of their thinking. I think that they've got a good community. And they they're gonna they want to vote to add pool rewards as well to our pool. So it's like there's going to be like a lot of cool collaboration there, and I think there's just endless possibilities with their V4 stuff. Like, it's really neat. We're already like working on kind of putting together a pod, which is like kind of their new their new offerings, right? And that sort of offers like a kiddie pool, right? Something that's going to be a lot easier for someone with a lower deposit to have like a decent kind of like payout for or like ROI on, like as far as their odds there, right? They're not going to feel like they're getting gamed because they're not, no one's gonna be able to deposit like 1,000 SM or something like that, and just like steal it all at the last minute. But even so, we were looking at the some of the metrics from the last award cycles, and like there were a couple folks that deposited quite a bit and did not win, and it's like oof. That hurts. That went to somebody with a lot less, which is cool. I think it's ultimately like something that I wouldn't try gaming myself. I just like throw a little in, and I get really excited a few minutes before it happens, and then like usual, like I don't get it. But I did get one of those bond bears today, so I thought I was like, oh shit, maybe my luck is gonna change. And I checked. I was thinking like, oh, maybe I didn't win, but I'm just gonna let it ride. We'll see.
Well, because you're like not losing any money, right? I mean, you're only losing the rebases, but if you put in a nominal amount, then it's just kind of like a little, you're in it to win it. So who knows, kind of thing. But again, me and Girth are not financial advisors, so please do not. My profile picture is a mushroom, and Girth is a wazzy. So we are definitely not ones to take financial advice from. But I mean, on that note, like, is there any alpha leaks that you can give us? Are there any projects besides, like, obviously your day-to-day in engineering that you're working on? Maybe like a little hint potentially.
So you want me to leak some alpha?
Oh, of course.
Oh man. Okay. So I don't even know how much like alpha I've really got to leak, because I feel like other folks have been leaking this shit all over the place, right? Like every time I'm like, oh wow, like I should keep this on the down low. Like someone totally random was like, yo, did you hear about whatever Arbitrome? I'm like, well, all right, I guess Jaws tweeted about that shit at some point. I've been working with a couple homies on what I think might be a pretty interesting NFT project.
Ooh.
So I can't really disclose the exact specifics of it, but it's man, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun and it's odd, and it's a little generative little thing.
Interesting. Interesting. I am a generative art whore. I must admit, I think I have an obsession with trying to find anything that is unique to kind of like smart contract art. That anything is like very much code-based art, I instantly eat up. I love it because it's like it can't be done anywhere else, right? It's such a when it's done like correctly and like there's some kind of like interesting like implementation or something, like some kind of like novel primitive. It's like a collectible, right? You just never sell it because it's like a piece of history. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I pick up one of these mysterious pieces at some point. But I guess that's all we get for now, Ohmies. So you're gonna have to check back in with Girth later and see if he can leak.
Yeah, I can't even. I'm honestly not even sure if I'm gonna. I don't even know if I want to shill it too much to the Ohmies. Like I want to almost like plant this one out in the wild and just sort of like see where it goes. See if it like is picked up naturally. You know what I mean? Like I want to see it. I'm a tinkerer, you know. So like I love coming up with these like just stupid things that, I mean, you never know. You might come across some contract that I wrote a year ago and you'll be like, the fuck is this? This terrifying monstrosity of an NFT. And it'll be like, why is only four out of 800 people minted this thing? Yeah.
It's just you on 4 different
maybe you'll
accounts.
find that shit one day. I've left all kinds of nuggets for all kinds of friends who want to find it all over the blockchain. They're just some of them are terrifying though.
I'm gonna go girth hunting later, I think.
Oh man,
you've set me down a rabbit hole now. I think I'm going to spend some time later doing a bit of a deep dive. This last week, it's been like a bit of a wild ride at Olympus. Like we've seen, you know, the system kind of handle things brilliantly without fail to the FUDder's demise, and people kind of being a little bit negative on social media. We've the system bounced back in tremendous fashion. How do you kind of cope with this volatility? Have you gotten to a point where you're just like fully chilling and just like grinding away? Because I mean, myself, I'm also someone who doesn't quite care about price, but like, yeah, as a new Ohmie who might be listening to this, you know, do you have any kind of like what's the vibes? Are you someone who's like price conscious? So you just kind of like, how do you stomach this volatility?
Like, I'll be honest, like I'm usually way too heads down in either the code or responding to one of, 800 DMs that like, it's like, when I do check the chart from time to time, I'll be like, oh fuck. It's always either, oh fuck, it's really up, or it's really higher, that number's big, or it's like, oh fuck, it dumped a little bit. But like I was never once worried, and like I'm definitely not worried now. Like I don't know, I'm just saying, like, you look at like March and leading into like May, right? And you see where we're at now. It's just, I don't know. I've small potatoes, it's small potatoes.
100%.
So yeah. It's like basically, thanks to Ohm, my eyes aren't glued to a chart anymore. They're glued to the code where they should be. So
yeah, like back into the books, learning, getting better every day. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I used to spend so much time being like, okay, when I need to wait for this moving average to cross so I can short this motherfucker. And it's like, dude, that was so stressful, man. Like that sucked.
I know, dude.
So, like, it was such a pain. Like that's why, like, I see so many people that are like, I'm a crypto trader, and I'm like, that to me is the small, like, that's the small brain play, dude. You want to be an investor. Like you want to find those projects that really get your gears turning, and you dump into that shit, dude.
100%. You gotta. I find that is the best way. Is like just doing deep dives on certain protocols and really understanding, whether that is going to be like a net benefit to DeFi, and like, what is the upside in this like kind of new primitive, or is it like in an existing market? I feel like getting a good idea about the overall space is definitely more important than like actively trading, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
One thing that like I still feel like we need to educate the Ohmies on is like the chart itself is so inaccurate. Like the
oh my god, chart, I know.
I see too many Ohmies in trading all the time, trying to like do TA and looking at this thing like they, know what's going on. Like, go check the index adjusted price. That shit will give you a bit more clarity.
TA is like a horoscope for a math nerd. Like it's the worst. No, I
I see. I totally am with you, man. Like, especially, I don't know if, so, okay, I'll be honest. Like, I still feel bad for this dude just because, you know, you never want to, you hate to see it. You hate to see it every time.
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's something that happens, right? But this dude literally, I think he bought like the Pico top, like he bought the top and like, and then it just dumped, like it dumped on him, right? Because it's, you know, nothing just goes up forever. Like, I don't get why everyone, like, you see people are like, haha, you're, you know, whatever. It you know, drew down like, you know, 20% or something like that. It's like, yeah, but that shit happens every day all over the place. Like, it's not a game. It's not a competition like that. Right. I mean, that just means cool. Like, if I've been following it, then I've just got a good potential, like, local bottom I could buy in on. Right. But I guess the point is there's this dude that puts this YouTube video out that was like him just losing his freaking mind. Because like he bought the hype at the very top, and then, you know, bad timing. Sorry, bud. You know, we've all been there. I assume at least once or twice, right? And you know, it took a dump on him.
I don't know if you were there during the. I mean, Brian, Mark, myself, a few other Ohmies. We kind of like set up a stage.
Oh no! Yeah, Discord. I saw that was amazing. That's admirable.
We had like a very long line, a very long list of Ohmies, actually in a very orderly fashion, which was lovely. Come up and kind of ask concerns and kind of like, you know, there was a lot of things pertaining to price, which is understandable. Like, that's, you know, it was a very, like, a lot of emotional decisions in the last kind of 24, 48 hours. But yeah, it was just like, it kind of made me realize, like, maybe, you know, that like at some point it's just like super hard to really like, you know, educate new users. And like, there's only so much you can do, right? I feel like even if you do have content, you know, dripping out of the, you know, the DAO doors, like we create so much content, yet there's still like so many people who like misunderstand the protocol. So, yeah, that's one thing that, like, I don't know if you've noticed it as well, but like, do you think there's like, what do you think people find most difficult when they come to wrapping their heads around what Olympus is and what it's like trying to achieve, I guess?
That's a great question. It's kind of interesting. Like, I guess just like a paradigm shift that I noticed in my personal life. Like I said, you know, I was no longer glued to the charts every 5 minutes, you know, making sure that like I wasn't gonna have to like pull out or like whatever, you know, sitting there waiting for some shit to like drop 1 more percent so I can like get the, you know, perfect entry point or whatever, and then just whatever. It shit takes so much long. Time and all that shit. Once I started buying into Ohm, like I haven't done that anymore because, you know, I tried for a second. I'll be honest with you. I tried for like 1 second to try and like beat the staking game, right? Like in the first like week, I was like, oh, cool, it's pumping, right? Before I read the docs and all that stuff, right? I immediately just bought back in. I was like, this is not going to end well if I try and beat the market or anything like that. It's like that whole, you know, we talk about like time in is better than timing. Ohm is the truest example of that, right? And like that's kind of, I guess what I would say is like, don't really worry about when you bought it. And like I've got plenty of friends that I instructed to buy it when it was at like 1,200 or whatever the first time, and they're all still Ohmies because they realize at this point, right? You know, it takes a little bit, takes 6 months, but you know, they're all very massively up now. Just because it just takes patience, right? And I think once you stop like worrying about that shit, it really is like very impactful. Like it kind of ripples throughout like everything. I just felt a lot less tense all the time. I mean, you know, I still, you know, chain smoke like a fucking sailor, but you know, I don't even know if that's a real analogy, honestly. Like who fucking cares? But the point is,
it's just, it's so fucking cozy being an Ohmy, dude. Like I got rid of everything. I mean, not everything, but I still got like my dot, you know, and like couple OG bags, but like everything that was, you know, kind of crabbing or whatever, like was, you know, didn't feel like it was really as productive. That shit got out, right? And
yeah, well,
and,
like
and it's just been
built
gravy.
for the crab market, right?
Oh God, right. And we had such an ideal scenario for it, right? Like we had the perfect crab market for so long. So it's like I can understand where folks coming into the game now are probably a little skeptical, right? And they're feeling like, oh, like, you know, this is like where all the like early adopters get in. It's like, buddy, this shit's been around for what, 6 months?
Yeah, you're
still very early. I think if you bought, I don't know, what's some like trad shit, Apple, right? I think if you bought Apple
Amazon
6 months in,
or something. Yeah.
Amazon, right? Like imagine that times, you know, I don't know, let's say conservatively like 100, right? What, like the point, 333, duh. All right, so yeah, the point is, it's like you're still like so early that like, yeah, I watched that shit draw down fucking all the way to the bottom, and it was like, ooh, that hurt, especially because like I had my friends text me like, bro, what, what's happening right now? Numbers, you said number go up, and I was like, sometimes number go down, and sometimes that's okay. I said check how much your APY is there, friend, and then they check and they're like, oh, that number go up. I'm like, number always go up. You just got to know which number to look at.
Well, it's like Olympus, you know, the idea is to like preserve your purchasing power over like a super long term horizon. And
exactly.
If you are in profit, then that's like a bonus for being early, right? But the whole idea is to like, against the US dollar, against, you know, Ethereum, potentially against Bitcoin. The whole idea is to like really serve as that asset that is the like true, you know, crypto native safe haven. Which like, you know, personally, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin and what it's done for the space, and you know, Ethereum is like such a, you know, this like, you know, financial Lego base piece for like every kind of like service imaginable, like super important for the space, and like wouldn't be anywhere, you know, without those two ideas and them being implemented. But you know, as far as crypto native reserves go, like this is you know, completely you know, blown me away, and Sam, seems like it's also blown you away in terms of like the incentive design, and like I'm waiting for the Nobel Prize here, I think,
in economics or something, right? I mean, well, and like the way that like I phrased it, because like my dad's an Ohmy too. He called me up about a month ago, and he was like, hey bud, he's like, I've been doing some reading. I think I want to be an Ohmy. and I was like,
hell yeah.
I was like, what? I said, what? I said, okay, 1,000%. So I sent him some message right off the bat. I was like, let's just get you started, bud. And that felt good, right? You know, that felt kind of good, being like delinquent as fuck, like rock and roll kid, fucking running out late at night all the time, keeping him up, worried and shit. Being able to be like, hey dad, let me turn you on to something that's gonna like change the rest of your life,
help you relax a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, thanks for putting up with my shit. Like, here's a couple SOM, and let me like send you some docs. You can like figure it out, and I'll walk you through it. So anyway, the point is, like, the way I phrased it to him, the way I phrased it to a lot of my friends is like, imagine like if you could have bought like treasury bonds, like when the like Fed was first rolled out, or right? Like think of the generational wealth that would create for you and for your family, right? Going, you know, in perpetuity. So it's like, to me, that was kind of like what really got me in on it. And it's like, you know, the more you read, the more you realize, like, yeah, the reason that the APY is so high is because, you know, it's still bootstrapping. It's still going to find that you know, you you can't build a treasury with $1, right? So
100%.
that's basically like kind of the way I explain it to, like, that's why they put so like you need to kind of bootstrap it, right? And like I think, yeah, it's like over time you're going to see that yeah, it's going to come down. I don't know where the price will eventually sit, but I just, at this point, I've come to realize that it really doesn't matter like where it sits, because by the time it comes down, it could be $10, but you know, it's like, you know, if you've been in it since, you know, now, it's like you're gonna have, you know, a few thousand or something like that, right? And it's like, you know, if 30,000, you know, it's like, depends on how long, right? Like, but you look at that over time, and it's insane. So it could go down as low as it fucking wants, in my opinion. Like, I still like see the value in it. I mean, I guess obviously, like, don't somehow break the risk-free value. Like, that would be bad. But like, you know, like that's kind of the point, is like, I think after a certain time, the risk-free value is going to like come up to a certain level, and like probably the market value will come down to meet it somewhere pretty close to it, you know. But by that time, I think both of those will be very, I don't know where they'll be, honestly. I'm not a fucking economist. I just write code, but like, I guess the point is, like, don't sweat the fact that like you're seeing the number go down for 5 minutes, because it's about what's going on in 5 years.
100%. It's like, do you think crypto is the future? Yes. Then what portion of the total, you know, cryptocurrency market can own slope? That's essentially what it is, right? And then you also you think about what is the total addressable market for currency. Boom. There's so many different ways you can spin it, but yeah, it is crazy when you kind of take like a long, you know, term view, and the incentives help you do that, really. You know, the way that they're designed, it really makes you you know, view things over the long-term horizon. I mean, you said earlier, exactly, you know, rock and roll kid. What do you do in your spare time, man? Like, how do you even like unwind? Like, how do you find time to not be on Discord all the time and like shipping? And we need to make like a ship or meme about you. There's like constantly pushing out stuff.
I felt personally attacked by that one Banksy put out the other day. I was like, yeah.
Which one did Banksy put out?
He basically did a ship or you know, I'm shipping. Like, it was great. I was tickled. But no, like I pretty much spend my time just doing OlympusDAO and playing music, pretty much. It's like the only other thing that I've got like on my schedule at any given week. You know, band practice like 3 times a week is
awesome.
Basically a part-time job there.
Hey, that's awesome. I think it's like it's super cool when you can like somehow find time to do something like that, even though you're like spread so thin across contributing at Olympus. I think it definitely helps, right? It's definitely like probably gives you more energy than if you were just like, you know, digging into code all day. You definitely need to like split things up.
Yeah, it's a good outlet for sure. Especially because it's it's like it's black metal, so it's like it's very fast and aggressive and loud, and it just, you know, gets the people going. So it's
yeah, man, it sounds like super therapeutic as well, right?
Yeah. I do find myself. I found, honestly though, like in the last couple of weeks, like I've found, I've caught myself like thinking about like Olympus Pro and it just all these things, like it will be like playing and like I'll like forget my like next line, or like, you know, like I'll like my brain will go blank, right? And I like won't even be able to like do my vocal line because I can't think of like what the words are because I'm thinking about like, man, how am I going to do that? Like, you know, a partner layout like that, and, you know, what I wonder what you know, what this new like, you know, interface is going to look like for that TypeScript component. Yeah, it just doesn't stop, right? So like, I think music is the closest thing besides my my wonderful girlfriend, she'll be so mad if she didn't get included there. But yeah, between those two, it's like kind of the only things that come close to distracting me.
Yeah, music and one's partners is really the what's holding Olympus together, it seems. I also attribute a lot of my sanity to my partner as well. She definitely helps me like unwind from like constantly thinking about this 24/7. So
oh yeah, my girl is incredibly patient with she's constantly having to repeat herself because I'm just like reading DMs and Discord message chats on my phone, and she's like, hey, can you just focus in on 1 second? I'm like, gosh, I'm so sorry, B.
Yeah, I totally get you there. I think like, man, we've touched on so much. Like, all I want to really get to is like, what is the Olympus end goal? I mean, we've actually already touched about it. Actually, let me ask something else. What are you most excited about in DeFi, kind of like moving forward? Like, what are you kind of excited to see Olympus build upon more? I mean, you mentioned Olympus Pro, and then maybe something else within the DeFi space that like hasn't fully developed yet, but you feel like there's a big use case on this kind of like smart contract innovation side, like something that can only happen within the DeFi space. It just wouldn't be able to be replicated kind of like in the TradFi sphere.
Yeah. So, well, obviously, like what we're doing now with Olympus Pro is already something that's like, I don't think exists in the TradFi sphere. If it does, then, well, I'm not really that TradFi, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't think it does, right?
No.
All right, cool. That shows you how much I've read up on TradFi shit. Dude. I'm like, nah. People are like, do you invest in the stock market? I'm like, who's that?
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm sorry, what protocol is the stock market?
What's a stock market? Damn, bro, I've never heard of
you
that.
You use dollars? I don't know where. But no, some of the cool stuff. So I'm pretty excited about like, or interested in like, especially now in like the terms like in the KYC uncertainty times that we're in. I like ZK proofs like are kind of interesting to me. I think that there's going to be a lot of new innovations in like, how do I say this? Like basically kind of like obfuscating KYC or privacy, being able to like, I think that we're going to see, some level of regulation at some point, kind of regardless, like, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Right. Mm-hmm. So the way I see it is like, at some point, like there's going to be something's going to step in, some regulatory arm or some shit's going to happen. Right. Yeah. And I think that's going to spark some serious innovation in places that we wouldn't expect, kind of on the privacy side, and just like kind of personal data security sides of things, because I think that people are going to want to try and solve this problem. I think we're going to want to have our cake and eat it too. If I know the degens like I think I do, we're not it's going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll give you KYC, but it's going to be like KYC with an asterisk, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's all. That's all thanks to ZK proofs, right?
Maybe not directly. I just think that's like an interesting like privacy kind of play, and I just like the concept of it. But like, I think it very well could play a role in those sorts of solutions. I honestly don't like have a like I couldn't point you to like a specific thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I think these dudes are gonna like do that. But that's sort of like something that I've been just kind of like thinking about and looking into and just like kind of keep my eyes on, because I think there's enough of a spotlight on crypto and on DeFi now that,
yeah, I agree.
And something's going to give, and like, I think we're going to innovate past that, but that's to me what's going to be the interesting play.
Yeah, because you've
got
NFT
games. Sure. Fuck it.
Oh yeah, I mean NFTs as because they're essentially you're owning like data entries, right? It's like you actually have data rights over like intellectual property. It's such a game changer in that sense.
Oh yeah,
and it's like completely like changes like anything that is like a entry on like some kind of spreadsheet or like some kind of like certification. Like you have a property, awesome, put it on chain. You have, I don't know, music streaming. Oofed, that is a massive use case. Yeah, anything to do with music.
Oh yeah, you've seen Audius, right?
Yeah,
that one's pretty sick.
It is awesome.
I think they paired TikTok. That was actually when I got a little bit of just because I was, just being a musician. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I haven't really used the app or anything. I didn't even check that price on it. I think I've just got like a little bag of it somewhere. But yeah, no, I agree with you though. Like Theta too, video streaming.
True. It's also cool like to see, ZK proof, like zero knowledge proofs, being something that is like relatively tested and tried math. It's been around for a while, but it's really interesting to like, with a lot of like novel mathematical concepts, it takes such a long time before they're kind of used in a real world scenario. And like a lot of people write, some work that people like mathematicians would do, say 30, 20, 40 years ago, but crypto would be nothing if you didn't have this like work that was like these like seeds that were sown by all these, giga brains over the last like 40, 50 years. And like, you've got this like culmination of like, open source and kind of like, academic collaboration, that kind of leads up to this. This is kind of like inflection point where it's like everything starts to like come together and it starts being implemented in like a real world scenario. And I think you're starting to see that with zero knowledge kind of tech. So I'm definitely with you on that one. I mean, Tex also brought it up in the last interview of the week. So I think there's a few people with that.
Oh,
on their
did
mind.
he? I hadn't finished listening to that one. Oh shit! I actually had I was listening to it on my drive back when I was getting cigarettes earlier, and I got like maybe about 10 minutes in, something like that, 20 minutes in, something, whatever. I got like about like the bar wasn't very full.
No, but 100% fair.
I feel like that's on like a lot of people's minds, especially with old Gary coming for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coming for us in our V-Bucks.
I mean, it's definitely like regulation as much as people, have like a negative connotation or view on it. It's definitely, it's a good thing overall if it's done properly, and it needs to be something that is like, people need on the kind of, traditional front, they need to communicate a lot with the kind of crypto native crowd and really figure out, where a good middle ground is. Otherwise, like, these countries are going to shoot themselves in the foot, right? Because people move around because these networks are like fluid, right? They're ever growing and immutable. They can't really be turned off. So I think countries are starting,
especially the more highly adopted ones, right?
Like Ethereum, right? Ethereum is the most decentralized network when in terms of like,
right, like
besides Bitcoin, and like obviously in terms of like if you take into account the applications kind of like built on top of it, it's the most like vibrant and active network. And like the more that people build on it, the more secure and immutable it gets. And like also the harder it is to kind of turn off, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like, you like Binance or anything like that, it's like fairly, it's pretty centralized. And so it's, to me, it's like, those are the places that I don't really want to waste my time in.
100%.
Because I think, if it's close enough that you could just turn it off. I mean, granted, if enough, if there's like a big enough power outage, I guess, because of some crazy hurricane or something, like maybe that would do something. But even then, I mean,
bigger problems, right? When you got natural disasters putting out the internet.
Yeah, I mean, this is where Klima comes into play. We're not going to have any crypto if we don't focus on the environment first. So also bullish on anything that is like working to curb this, this looming ecological disaster we have that's impending because of people who've taken the environment for granted and left us in this like tricky situation. So we've got a lot to do, don't we, Girth? We've got a lot to ship in these next few decades, and I'm excited to kind of do this with you at Olympus, man. It's been great kind of chatting with you today. I think we've touched on a lot. Is there anything else that you like wanted to kind of any closing thoughts for the Ohmies?
I mean, yeah, it's been a really insane ride. From like not sleeping for a week, getting the V1 out the door already, and like going to the migration stuff, and really getting to see this DAO and everything, and this protocol and everything grow has been just a really rewarding experience. So I just appreciate you having me, and I appreciate just everything about where I'm at today. I owe it to so many folks, and I can't dox them all, but I think they know who they are if they're listening. And I'm just stoked.
You got to make sure you send this app to them. I'm sure they'd be keen to listen. Where can the Ohmies find you at on socials?
Oh yes, I'm so bad about like shilling my socials. Y'all can find me at I'm at loss.jpg, but it's spelled weird.
No,
like
we got you. I'll link it in the
2 underscores. I'll link it
I'll link it in the show notes for the Ohmies who for some reason aren't following you. They need to definitely be following you. But yeah, I think that's it, Ohmies. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find Olympus Agora on Twitter. Just as is Olympus Agora, and then myself, Dropkickdarren on Twitter. Me and Girth are pretty active within the Discord, as we've touched on. Feel free to message Girth if you have any crazy ideas. I'm sure he'd like to direct you into the kind of engineering team for you guys. They're going to ship more awesome products. And until next time, Ohmies, we'll see you for. Actually, what will we see you for next?
What do we got going on? What do we got going on next? There's so much more alpha, dude. You're gonna have to holler at me in the DMs, but I got some more for you. We got stuff coming up. I just don't know if it's like announced.
I would definitely keep it under wraps. I think we can get you back on, man. We can do another Agora TV session.
Oh no, yeah.
And then we could do anything. Any new thing that you're shipping, Agora's got you. We've got you for the PR.
Oh brother, dude.
Yeah.
I got some stuff for you then, bro.
Perfect.
But yeah. No, hey dude, thanks again for having me and for putting this together.
My pleasure.
I really dig what y'all do.
No.
I really respect it.
Thanks for joining. See you, Ohmies. We'll catch you later.
Bye now.